Following is a series of 100-foot 16-millimeter reels taken over a period of several years. The filming was done by an amateur to be used as a teaching aid to develop good jump shooting techniques. The subjects were filmed from the front, the right side, the left side, and the rear. Shooting drills should be charted over a period of weeks, months, or even years in order to evaluate a shooter's ability. In order to be a go-to guy, a shooter must hit at least 70% in drills. Once a player has established himself as a shooter, then the coach must have complete confidence in him. Case in point, Lafayette Seminole State 1966. Lebanon versus Logansport. Mount was 10 for 15 during the first three quarters. During the fourth quarter, Rick was 9 for 11, scored a total of 22 points. For the game, Rick was 19 for 36 from the field and scored a game high of 47 points. Lebanon won the game. I'm sure had I not had confidence in Rick, or my confidence in Rick had been shaken, this scenario could not have developed. My philosophy has always been never up, never in. Before we see the video, I would like to discuss what I consider the 6 basic steps for developing good jump shooting skills. Number 1, the stance. Sometimes I choose to call this the cock position or the triple threat position. Number 2, the grip. Number 3, the shooting position. Number 4, eyeing the target. Number 5, the release. And number 6, the follow-through. First of all, I'd like to discuss stance, or sometimes I call it the cock position or the triple threat position. Go into this stance or cock position immediately upon receiving the ball. The ball is held firmly approximately waist high and about 16 to 18 inches in front of the body. The stance starts with the feet. The spread of the feet should be about the width of the hips, the right foot slightly ahead of your left foot. I use a ball-heel relationship to establish this spacing. The heel of my right foot is opposite the ball of my left foot. The knees should be slightly flexed as you receive the ball. To go into the cock position off a dribble, use a 1-2 count stop. The last bounce should be hard and about waist high for a quicker release. The footwork on a 1-2 count stop. To drive right, stop on the heel of the left foot, square, stop on the toe of the right foot. To drive left, stop on the heel of the right foot, square, stop on the toe of the left foot. Don't allow the heel of your outside foot to touch the floor. For a smoother and quicker release, elevate as soon as your heel touches the floor. As you square to the basket, the momentum of your body should be towards that basket. As, for instance, a baseball player, an infielder, when he fields a ground ball, he comes up stepping into that ball and stepping towards first base and throwing. Outfielder the same way. He's waiting for the ball. He backs off the ball 6 to 8 feet, steps into the ball, has his body momentum going towards home plate when he makes that throw. Going into the stance or the cock position off the pass is the same as off the dribble. The footwork is exactly the same. The dribble merely is the last bounce off the floor. The footwork must be done while the pass is in flight. In other words, you have that footwork done before you receive that ball. Now the grip. The grip, I'm going to divide into 2 parts, the shooting hand and the support hand. First of all, the shooting hand. The ball should rest on the pads of the fingers and not on the fingertips. The ball should not rest on the palm or in the heel of your hand. The correction for this can be made simply by increasing the spread between the thumb and the index finger. If I could have my choice of how I would grip the basketball, I would allow the valve stem of the basketball to split my index and middle finger. And, of course, I would have my fingers across the seam. As we all know, however, that during competition, this ideal placement would be next to impossible. Since the ball is a sphere, any placement of the shooting hand is acceptable. What is important is the relative positioning of the shooting hand and the support hand. Any minute adjustment should be made by rotating the ball in the shooting hand as the ball is being moved from the cock position to the shooting position. The shooting hand should always remain firm. Now the support hand, used for support only, not to propel the basketball. The ball should rest on the inside of the thumb. Do not use the thumb to propel the ball. Correction can be made by decreasing the spread between the thumb and the index finger. In extreme cases, I've even taped the thumb to the index finger. Now we're going to talk about the shooting position. The ball is moved from the cock position to the shooting position to point directly above the right eye and slightly in front. Stress a lifting motion. Keep the ball close to your face. I always tell our kids, keep the ball close to your face. Brush your nose. The wrist is hyperextended. The elbow is under the ball and pointing towards the basket. Now we'll talk about eye and target. Eye the entire target. Don't try to pick out a particular spot on the rim, either front or rear. Just see the entire basket. Make a window with your arms. Don't shoot blindly. The release. I think this is very important. Release the ball the instant before reaching the apex of your jump. It's better to release early than late. In other words, release slightly before you hit that apex, or in other words, on the way up. Never do you release on the way down. If you would, you just destroy any range that you might have. Don't overextend yourself in your jump. Make it a normal, strong jump, but don't put that extra effort into that jump. Naturally, boys with good spring in their legs will get up higher with less effort than boys who don't have that spring. The release is a smooth, rhythmic extension of all joints, starting with the feet, moving through the knees, hips, shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers. To develop a smooth, rhythmic release, our shooting drills were run to music. They were also timed in 1-minute segments. Now also, I have taken an adhesive tape and ran it around the circumference of the ball, the tape running perpendicular to the seams on the ball. I would place my index finger and my middle finger, running the tape between my index finger and little finger, and as I shoot the ball, that tape should make a straight line coming back to me with a moderate rotation. If the tape is wobbling, I know I've had a bad release. The follow through. The shooter should see only the back of his hand, never the palm of his hand. After the ball has been released, allow all joints to relax. I even say allow the joints to recoil. I think the best way you can demonstrate that to yourself is wad up a piece of paper and throw it into a waste paper basket. I think that your motion will be a smooth release. It won't be a snap of the wrist. Then you allow your wrist to release or relax and drop down. Not all boys featured in this video have the shooting form we desire. The purpose of filming was to correct form and teach and develop sound jump shooting fundamentals. This first segment is Rick Mount between his sophomore and junior year. This segment was filmed in the old Memory Hall gym. This is where Rick played his entire high school career. During this segment, I'd like to focus primarily on the stance or cock position, as I sometimes call it. As you see, Rick leads with his right foot. I think it's awfully important that the key word here is balance. I think you start the stance with the feet. The right foot is slightly ahead of the left. The weight of the body is primarily on the balls of the feet. I use a heel-ball relationship. In other words, the heel of the right foot opposite the heel and the toe of the left foot to get the proper spacing. This gives the subject better balance, and I think balance is so important in shooting. Here we see Rick from pretty much the front. You see he's taking the ball from the cock position into the shooting position. See, the shooting position is directly above the right eye and slightly in front. Now we're seeing Rick shoot from his left, my right, and of course I think one of the things that's really important here, you can see how stable his body is, his head, his back is straight, the shoulders directly underneath the body. Now we see him from his right. You see he's stepping into the shot, the momentum of the body goes towards the basket. Now we're looking at Rick from the rear. I spoke previously about making a window with your arms. You can see exactly what Rick sees. He's looking right through those arms. The arms form a window for him to look at that basket. He's getting a good look at the bucket. Now this is what we call a 1-2 count stop. I'll talk about that in more detail a little later. He's driving to his right, going up for the shot. Now Rick's driving to his left, going up for that shot. Here we see Rick working out of the high post. Here Rick comes to a jump stop rather than a 1-2 count stop. I think this is one of the few occasions where the jump stop is proper rather than a 1-2 count stop. I'd say the other is when a person is going for the bucket and it goes in for a power layup or a power dunk. See, Rick faces up and goes right, takes his little jumper. There to the left. Now he uses right hand. I think this is a good move because that puts the ball farthest away from the defender. There he's using his left hand going to his left. Now this is what we call a wrong foot jumper, but I wouldn't recommend this for the average high school player. I think this is for the extremely skilled player, and Rick certainly is that. Now you see Rick with a jump hook. I think that's a very effective weapon, a right-handed jump hook. Now the left-handed jump hook. Very graceful. There he comes back and with a left-hand jumper. Now you see Rick at the free throw line. I want the free throw to be the same shot as the jump shot, the only difference being that you don't jump. This is what we call our two-man drill. I think any basketball is set up with the two-man drill here. We get the handoff and the shot. And, of course, here Rick returns the pass. Now Rick takes a reverse dribble. Now a crossover dribble to the center, drag dribble to the center. I want all my players to be able to make these moves. There is Rick cutting. I think cuts in basketball are awfully important. This is our 1-3-1 offense that we set up for Rick during his career to eliminate the double team out front. Purdue University took this offense and ran it all the way to the final game of the NCAA tournament in 1969. Rick has the option of stepping out or going to the low post. Caldwell goes through and picks up a double screen on the weak side. I want that weak side defense to have something to do, so because Caldwell was an excellent shooter, they had to respect his shooting. Now you see Rick going in a low post. There's his turnaround jumper. Now Rick goes through and he's going to pick up a double screen. He gets the shot. Now you see Rick, he doesn't get the shot this time, but he picks up a double screen going in the low post and gets a bucket. This next segment was taken at what we call our new gym. You can see it's still under construction. This would be in the fall of 1968. Here we're focusing on Rick's entire body. You can see how stable the head, the back is straight, shoulders directly over the hips. I think that's a secret of how stable your body is. Rick, I think, is like sitting in a chair. He could read a newspaper while shooting a basketball. You see, each time Rick steps into that shot, his momentum is going towards the bucket. Notice the left hand, the support hand, slightly hyperextended, just falls off of the ball. Absolutely no thumbing action in the shot whatsoever. Here we're focusing primarily on the hands and upper body. Notice the head. Absolutely no movement in the head. As I said before, he could read a newspaper while shooting a basketball. Here we get Rick from the rear. I talked about making the window earlier. Here you can see exactly what Rick sees. He makes that window with his arms. He's looking through those arms at the bucket. He has a perfect look at that bucket. This is Becky Caldwell, who really turned out to be probably one of the best girl basketball players to ever graduate from Lebanon High School. Unfortunately, she didn't get to play in the state tournament because it was initiated the year after she graduated. Notice Rick's support hand, what I call the wrist is a super hyperextended. Now we see Rick from his left, my right. You see that lifting motion going from the cock position into the shooting position. The ball is directly above the right eye and slightly in front of the forehead. You see the bleachers in the background. We use that to judge the release of the ball as far as being at the apex of the jump. That was not by design, it was by accident. I've thrown thousands of balls back to Rick during the course of his career and my career. This is what we call a wrong foot jumper. Again, I want you to notice the grace. What a graceful shot that is. It's almost like watching a ballet. In this next segment, we're going to see Rick shooting the ABA basketball. Of course, I use this to check ball rotation. In other words, we want a moderate backspin on the ball, and of course, you can really pick that out with a multicolored panel colored basketball like an ABA ball. The elbow is pointing towards the target. You can see the shot alignment from the rear. Perfect. Now we see Rick from his right side. See, Rick likes to get across the seams of that ball. Now, this is not poor photography. We're simply trying to zero in on the feet, checking out the 1-2 count stop. In other words, going to your right, you're going to stop on the heel of that left foot square and stop on the toe of the right foot. Going to the left, of course, you're going to stop on the heel of the right foot and square and stop on the toe of the left foot. Now, if you notice, the toe of that outside foot does not touch the floor before Rick elevates. As soon as that toe hits the floor, he's going up. I think that increases the quickness of the shot, and also it makes the shot a little bit smoother. If you let that heel hit the floor, it's going to kind of jar you, and you're just not going to get that good, smooth release. Now, we've all heard of the mic and drill. This is a Rick Mount drill. In this drill, Rick will shoot for 1 minute. During that course of that 1 minute, he'll get off 17 shots from about 19 to 20 feet on the floor. And out of that 17 shots, he'll hit 14, 15, or 16 every time. Every time. We shoot this drill religiously every night in practice. We set our practice up. The early part of our practice for about 45 minutes is what we call station drills. And of course, this is a big part of our station drill, this drill right here. As you notice, even as Rick can take that ball off the dribble, he always gets that ball across the seams. Now, I didn't teach him that. He's just got that uncanny ability. In this next segment, we're going to see Rick Mount, Steve Lewis, and Mike Coyle. You see contrasting styles here. This is Steve Lewis. He has what you'd almost call an ugly shot. There's Rick with a beautiful shot. Mike Coyle. Lewis and Coyle played at University of Pittsburgh. There you see Steve. He had trouble hyperextending his wrists, so he had to compensate by throwing that elbow out to the side. Now, if you watch Mike, this is Mike Coyle. He has a tendency to slightly thumb that ball, but he was an excellent shooter, so we just learned to live with that. During his sophomore year, he broke his wrist and had to have his hand in a cast for about, I'd say 6 weeks, and he learned not to get that left hand in there, and I think it made him a better shooter. Now you see Rick, if you're going to copy a shot, this is a shot to copy, a beautiful shot. Of course, we know we all can't copy that shot, but we can come as near to it as possible. This is Mike. See him thumb that ball just a little bit. Look at that thumb on that left hand. Mike was a fine shooter and an excellent guy to play beside Rick, because if they double-time Rick, he could hit that open jump shot. He couldn't create shots for himself like Rick, but if you let him shoot, he could get it down for you. This is Steve Lewis, and we would have to say that Steve had an ugly shot, but Steve was a very effective player, averaged about 23, 24 points a game for us, and just was a great player for us. Simply got that way through hard work. See, there's Steve shooting that shot. Now, you don't copy that shot. That's how not to shoot. But Steve worked so hard at it, he became an effective shooter. Now, here's the shot to copy. Have your player copy that shot, and you'll never go wrong.
This is Joe Klingler between his freshman and sophomore year. Now, you know, I talked earlier about making a window. See, Joe doesn't make a very good window. He has that right forearm right before his eyes. Pat Cook, who's on the faculty at Indianapolis University, a PhD, suggested to me that possibly Joe's left eye was probably his dominant eye. See, now I call it looping the ball. See how Joe loops that ball, taking it up from the cock position to the shooting position? See him loop the ball. Now, his forearm is right in front of his right eye. Now, he's probably not getting that good a look at the bucket. This is Steve Wallace between his freshman and sophomore year. Steve's a fine athlete, has a nice jump shot, good smooth jump shot for a youngster. Steve, as a junior, won the state in the low hurdles. He's quite an athlete. He won a football scholarship at the University of Wisconsin. He's just a fine athlete. This is David Wright, and David Wright probably is the nearest thing to Rick Mount as far as the shooter's concerned. This is Eddie Schilling, a fine point guard for us. Played at the University of Miami at Oxford, Ohio. In fact, I think he still holds the school record for assists for the University of Miami. Just a fine point guard. Here we see David Wright. David is going up for a shot. You see that's a nice, smooth release of that ball. In this segment, I have two boys in the same frame, Rick, and in this case, Steve Wallace. In other words, I want the younger player to compare his shot to Rick's and try to emulate Rick's shot. There you see Joey Klingler and Rick. Now watch Joey loop that ball. See, Rick's ball is released and going a little bit before Joey's. This is Eddie Schilling and Rick. Eddie has a tendency to reach for the sky with that shooting hand rather than thrust it towards the bucket. Now this is Eddie between his junior and senior year, so he developed quite a bit as a shooter since then. This is David Wright and Rick Mount. You can see there that they're more nearly alike, those two guys. Joey's still looping that ball. We never did completely get him out of it, but by the time he's a senior, he did eliminate that problem to a great degree. He did shoot 59% as a senior, so we couldn't kick too much on his performance. Now in this segment, we have Brian Walker, who was a starting guard at North Carolina State as a freshman, and then he started 3 years as a starter for Purdue University and was a starting guard when they went to the Final Four in 1979, I think it was. In the background, you see what I call ball return. This is kind of forerunner of Rick's shoot away. Now, if there's any one thing that I think is a real teaching aid in basketball, it has to be Rick's shooting aid. This is a very crude forerunner of that, but it is effective for us, as you can see here in just a minute as Brian works on that ball return. This is a piece of canvas that Aaron Stuckey gave to me, and I took a 2x4 and made a ball return out of it. Now you see Brian going up for his shot. He kind of corkscrews that shot a little bit, and that slows his release down just a little bit. See that corkscrew, that right hand as he goes up. Now you see Brian working on the ball return. You see how many more shots he can get. He's shooting free throws there, and the ball comes back to him. He can go to the gym by himself and shoot hundreds of shots. Now Brian is shooting the jump shot, taking a drive dribble to the right and to the left. See that ball comes right back to him. He's ready to go again. No lost time. In other words, the secret is getting as much shooting practice in a limited number of minutes. Here is what I call a shooting screen. This is to get the boy to get the lift off the floor, get up so he can see the target. The sides will swing to the right or the left. Here Brian is coming from the right, driving left, and he has to go up and come straight down. Now he's driving right. He